All right, I got for y'all tonight. Everybody, Rawlings here. Welcome to another exciting episode of Meet the. I'm gonna turn this off because I don't own the rights to this music. This guy does, but I know how Facebook and Instagram. This guy actually owns the rights to the majority of the music y'all hear me playing in the background sometimes. What can I say? Prince of Sophisticated Soul. I don't like to put him in the genre because it seems pretty genre-less. I don't know if that's a word. But R&B superstar, jazz, smooth jazz. He's the epitome of what smooth jazz is supposed to be. Musician, songwriter, producer. Over 30 years in the game, over 20 albums. One and only, his chocolate badness. Give it up. Give it up for Mr. Will Downing.
I love it. His chocolate badness. Because prior to that, I was looking around. I was like, I wonder who he's bringing on the show. This person sounds incredible. He sounds like a genius.
Bring you on stage, and you was like,
and listen, hey, I've been introduced in a worse way. Matter of fact, I think one time I played in Cleveland, Ohio. I was opening up for Gerald. And I was opening up for Lovert, not Gerald Lovert. This was just Lovert when there was a group long before Gerald kind of went independent. And I was starting out, it was like the early 90s. And the dude, walked out on the stage, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for a dynamic show? I'm standing, I'm like, yeah, put your hands together for, and he looks to the side like, Will, like, Bill. And he goes, what's last name? Downing. Dynamite. Give it up for Bill Dynamite. He's coming out here right now. I was like, Bill Dynamite. Wow. and the career
on it, grab the crowd and say, look, my name is actually Will. You just went with.
Let me tell you something. We were in Cleveland, in Gerald's hometown. Them folks could give a happy about me. They were like, do your little 45 minutes and get the flock off the stage and bring on the main event. We won our boy Gerald.
Teddy bear. They holding teddy bears in the audience.
Yeah, exactly. Get up, boo you. Trust me, no one will remember that show other than me. And all I did was have a good laugh, and hopefully the check didn't bounce, and we did all right. That's it. Right. Next.
I got to do this because I have the privilege of, in doing this show, to give roses and flowers while people are still here. Because a lot of us, and I was just saying off camera, I was like, how do you look 30 years younger? We're gonna get his remedy. Hey, 30 years younger than you did.
How many hands am I holding up? See? Something wrong with
no. Well, I'm 45. So it was 30 years ago. I was in high school. And while everybody's making mixtapes, I started making slow jam tapes. We saw serious scrumping music. Mike Mason, rest in peace. I called him my godfather. Me loving soul music, R&B, loving music, wanting to be radio and all this kept me out of a lot of stuff. I'm from Baltimore, a place where you sell out every time you come.
Baltimore. There's no T.I. Baltimore. They only call Baltimore. Where you from? Baltimore.
Baltimore. Uh-huh. you ain't gonna get the T's and the I. Baltimore.
No, Baltimore.
Be more if they really,
There you go.
So, A Dream Fulfilled came out. Mm-hmm. I heard you do I Try.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, man, Mike, this is bad, brother, doing I Try. He said, first off, that's a remake. It's an Angela Bofield song. I was like, it is? Who's Angela Bofield? He had to play me. And he was like, I was like, well done. And if you've ever, by any chance, not listened to A Dream Fulfilled, bless yourself. It's one of those things where if you put that album on tape or have the CD, it would just rotate. We just let it run over. From beginning to end, every song.
Thank you.
Crank out. And from that point on, huge Will Downing fan. Cut to 3 years ago, we start LA Radio Now. It's our radio station. My man DB7, my partner Damien, he says, hey, I got a friend Ash, went to Howard together. Yeah, I don't know if you're interested in it. I don't know if you're looking for any like syndicate shows, but Will Downing's doing what? A syndicate show. I said, well, how much does he want for the show? He said, no, he just wants some exposure.
Millions.
Can you get him on?
They told you? I said millions. They told you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he said the check's gonna be
right. Check's in the mail, right? Yeah.
But it was a blessing. Your team, your professionalism, everything. So I've been a huge fan for a long time. Thank you for your contributions to the existence of entertainment, let alone music. So appreciate you.
Appreciate it, man. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Now, let's go back. Let's go back real quick. I know we ain't got a lot of time, but we might have to do a part 2.
Hey, man.
Yeah. So where you originally from? Because people were asking me, I got people asking me, where's Will live in the DMV? Somebody asked me, did you live in the DMV? Because you crushed the DMV so much. So I was like, no, I don't. I think he lives in Jersey, but where are you originally from?
I'm originally from Brooklyn.
Brooklyn.
Born and raised in Brooklyn. When Brooklyn was Brooklyn. For real, Brooklyn. What Brooklyn is now, I don't know what Brooklyn is now. Well, actually, my mom still lives there, but like most neighborhoods across the country, it has become gentrified. So like my old neighborhood, it used to be like, like get in by a particular time.
Basketball and beatboxes.
Yeah. Now I go there and I'm like, when they put a coffee shop here? And wow, it sure is colorful. Yeah. So things done changed.
Like a street rose in Brooklyn?
Yeah, straight. Right. Exactly. But yeah, that's how I was born and raised, and and like I said, moms are still there, sisters still there. So I'm in Brooklyn all the time. So I'm
music. Your music background, where does that come from? Because you play piano. Do you play any other instruments as well?
You know what? I studied upright bass while I was in college, but I was terrible. So we're not even gonna acknowledge that. And keyboards, so I don't know, man. No one else in my family is musically inclined.
Hold up. He said he studied upright bass in college. That means through grade school and high school, you were playing something. You just got to college and realized these cats are serious.
Listen, what I was playing with through grade school and high school, we can't talk about on this show, but it wasn't no musical instrument.
You found out the power of the voice. How old were you when you realized your voice was causing? I had a friend of mine, Harold Pompey, in Baltimore. I started radio 20 years ago, Heaven 600. Harold was every bit of 5. He looked like Walter or Scotty, but he was every bit of 5 foot, and his voice was a bit deeper than yours. And radio, when people would look up and they'd be like, "Oh, Harold Pompey, where is he?" He's like, "I'm right here." Oh, Harold, yeah, I'm the voice. He said he was in school one day and the teacher asked him to say something, and look, was like, So do you want to just speak in front of the class? When did you realize that your voice?
Excuse me, Mister. Listen, this is for grade school. Excuse me, Mister. Listen, my voice
had that power.
Hey, man, mine changed when I was about 13, 14, somewhere around there. And I was in school. I was actually just kind of in high school. And they used to divide the voices in the room. So it'd be like sopranos over here, tenors here, baritones here, altos over here. Some sort of configuration like that. And I was singing, and the teacher, someone wasn't quite hitting the note, and the teacher walked around while we were singing. He's like, keep singing. I was singing along, and then I started cracking. He was like, you move over there. And then I went from a tenor to being a baritone bass. I was 13 or 14. But prior to that, I used to sing along with all the big records, all the high singing brothers I used to be able to sing along with. And then all of a sudden that thing just kicked in. And what you hear now was what happened back then.
Well, you jump and play with the falsetto very well. So you'll go, at the end of I Try and stuff. And I talked about, I was talking about another one of my all-time favorite singers. Actually was the first one. I did my first concert, like I'm gonna get the money together. I'm gonna promote it. I want to do Baltimore Jazz Review. It'll be Regina Bell and Phil Perry.
Oh,
and people looked at me like I was crazy. And mind you, Ruby Glover hosted it for me.
wow.
Amazing, and who was like my godmother. And so I put Phil on last, and everybody's like, "Why did you have Phil on last?" I said, "You don't know."
That's right.
No offense to Regina.
And you're about to find out.
You're about to find out. And one of my all-time favorite concerts was you. I got a chance to work with Vesta before she passed away. I opened a club in Baltimore called Club 347. It was you, Vesta, and Phil.
Oh yeah.
On a Valentine's Day, I think it was at the Hippodrome in Baltimore. And man, look, brothers, if y'all could have went to that show by yourself,
yeah.
by the time the show was over, Lord have mercy. So you find out, you start singing, you got a voice. When did you realize that this was it? Because I heard that you're a round the way guy, you like to play basketball, do your thing. When did you realize that singing was such a passion that you wanted to focus on that?
Well, my grades were terrible in school. So I was not a student. I went to school, but I was not a student. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I was actually going into the military, and that didn't work out because my parents wouldn't let me go. So, but I was there. I was like ready to go, and they laughed their ass off. They were like, "We ain't signing no paper," because I was 17 when I was trying to go in, and you needed a permission slip or some sort of parental
permission,
right. Like a promissory note. And my parents would not sign it. So I had.
You said they were laughing at you.
Oh, laughing is an understatement. My father passed away 6 years ago. I can still hear him laughing to this day. That's how I came home, me and my buddy Ralph. We walked in the door, and he was 18, so he had already signed, and I was 17. I said, "Hey, Dad, I need you to sign this so I can, do a promissory note to say I'm going into the Marines. Me and Ralph, we're gonna do the buddy program. We're gonna put in 20 years together, and then by the time I'm like 38, I'm gonna retire. We have enough money to." And my father, he just looked. He was like, "You and him are gonna protect the nation. You two, you two are the protection for people like me." Man, he fell out laughing. He said, "Man, get that piece of paper out. Get that nonsense out of here."
You can legally say. You can say it on this show. You can say whatever.
No, I ain't gonna say it. I ain't gonna say it. People's standards of what they think I am is already low. I don't want it to be any lower. But yeah, man, he would not sign it, and I didn't know what I was gonna do. So I ran into one of my old teachers, coincidentally, walking down the street one day, just hanging out. And he was like, "Do you want to go to college?" I was like, "I don't know if I'm college material." He's like, "You'll be studying music. They need singers." I said, "How much is it going to cost me?" He's like, "You might have to take out like a real small loan." He said, "But for the most part, he'll be taken care of." It's like, bam. So I went off to school. Actually went to school in Richmond, and a school called Virginia Union.
Yeah.
Studied music there and got into it, and did a year, and then decided to come home and jump into this thing, what I thought was going to be full time, but I gave it my best shot. So I had a day job, and I was doing music at night. And, one thing would happen, another thing would happen, and that's how you kind of got in. So I started out as a background vocalist primarily.
Who were some of the artists that you sung for background?
You name it. I'm looking on the wall here now. Let's see. I got Billy Ocean, Mariah Carey, Billy Joel, the international stuff, Misha Paris, Jonathan Butler. Jesus, I did Michael Jackson, like the Grammys with him. So I sang background. Jennifer Holiday.
And this was pre your first project.
Oh yeah. In the early '80s, that's all I did was sing background vocals. So. If you call,
it makes sense. It makes sense because I compare you a lot to. When I think about you, I think about you and Luther.
Right, and see him sometimes on sessions. Like he would be in like the big room, doing his thing, and we would be like literally in the studio next door, and then we'd meet together sometimes. And I knew who he was. He knew who the hell I was. I'm sure he didn't care, but there was like a Pac-Man machine in the hallway, and when he was trying to blow off steam, There was a Pac-Man machine and an Asteroids machine, literally right next to each other. And we would say, I'll be playing Asteroids, and he'd be playing Pac-Man, and and occasionally we're like, hey, how you doing? Hey, what's up? He didn't know I was like in awe. This dude was the reason I really started, trying to become a solo artist, because I heard him with Change, and like, what year was that? Like 80 or 81, somewhere around there. And I heard The Glow of Love, and I was like, I don't know who that dude is, but like, that's what I want to do. I want to sound like that dude right there. And he was a huge influence on me. So, like I said, I would see him around town doing background vocals.
So for the people, because I know a lot of, I'm doing artist development for years, work with a lot of artists, and my heart, so jazz music, setting stuff up. How did you transition that? Because I know a lot of people, especially here in Los Angeles, that they can work every day as a background singer.
Right.
But I know some who are phenomenal. Dudes with 5-octave ranges, what transitions someone, or how can you tell? Well, you said it wasn't until you heard Glow of Love. So that's 80.
Right.
81. And you said, I want to do that. Now, mind you, they had asked him to do that. And by that time he said, I'll do it, but you have to put my name on the credits.
Right.
So I guess some people were singing on certain people's project and they weren't even getting credit for being the lead singer sometimes.
Well, I'll be one of them Negroes. Yeah, that was me too. I had released, and not me personally, but labels had released, I released about 5 or 6 singles under different names before I came out under my own name in 88. So in like 82, 83, I was a group called NV, just the initials NV. I had 2 singles out on Sire Records. Then I became Pilot on Prelude Records. Then
you're doing house music, dance music.
House music stuff, dance stuff, yeah. Then I became the Goon Squad for the movie The Goonies, where it was they just made up this name, and me and this other brother, we became like the Goon Squad. Then I became RT and the Rockman Unlimited, and we were doing house stuff, a record called I Want to Go to Chicago. Then I became Wally Jump Jr. and the Criminal Element on Criminal Records. That's how crazy this was. And
Bill Dynamite.
Basically, Bill
Dynamite.
He's right there, Bill Dynamite. So, as crazy as this sounds, that's how I got my solo deal. We did an answer record to Gwen Guthrie's Ain't Nothing Going On But the Rent. I did an answer record called Ain't Gonna Pay You One Red Cent. Same exact music. Ain't gonna pay you 1 red cent. That was the hook. I give you no money because I get my love for free. That was the hook. And hers was Ain't Nothing Going On But the Rent. So we did the male equivalent answer to it. Oddly enough, it hit in Europe. The record hit in Europe. And I ended up going overseas, and it was a big record. And then someone kind of said to me, you know what? Would you be interested in, doing a solo record? I said, and that's how it started. As dumb as that. As crazy as that.
Like I said, we gotta do a part 2. I know I'll have a whole bunch of time with you because we'd be here for an hour. Here's the thing. Let's talk about the Europe piece a little bit, because as I'm talking to different musicians who've been in the game for years, they talk about how something hit in Europe. Or we know about people like Tina Turner that just shifted and focused her energy over there. And a lot of artists that did that. Is the money the same when you hit in Europe as it is in the United States? Or is it just the fact that you can play? Because a lot of people, and I mentioned this with Steve, is it the fact that you can play more, or it's all according to what you first negotiate in your deal that works better for you?
Well, it wasn't even a negotiation, a deal. It was, we had a worldwide deal. The records just happened to hit there.
Right. The dance grooves, the people that loved it in the radio, and they spin everything.
Exactly. It's like my first record came out in 88. we had released, I did a remake of Free by Denise Williams. Here in America, it did absolutely nothing. Over in Europe, we released an old John Coltrane song that I added some lyrics to and kind of added the house beat to it, A Love Supreme. That thing went platinum overseas. So I just ended up having to go overseas and work for the first probably 2 records. So in the Will Downing, the self-titled album in '88, and then in '89, '90, I released the album called Come Together as One, and that had Wishing on a Star on it. And so I found myself just over there just working. And then in '91, I released A Dream Fulfilled. And then the records started hitting here. The I Tries, I Go Crazy, I Wait had hit. And then I started working more in America. And then subsequently, the ball started rolling after that. And I started going to Europe less frequently and working more domestically.
So it was the fact that you right projects, right time, and you knew in your heart that you wanted to be lead. Because a lot of people, it seems like they want to do their own project, but they don't necessarily want to be in the front.
I didn't mind. I worked behind so many people for so many years. I learned what to do and what not to do. So I didn't mind stepping into the front and, and having a go at it. And not to mention, one day I saw somebody's check and it was a whole lot different than mine. I was
like, what? How many shows did you do for that?
Exactly. I was like, yo, you get what? I was like, oh, okay. This background thing, yeah, it's cool, it's fun, but nah, I don't want to be a vegetarian anymore. I don't want to eat meat.
You mean you get steak with the beans and rice?
Yeah, you get steak with. I thought we just go get the soup, some hot water and ketchup. That's what we get. You get the food.
All right. I want to, because like I said, I got to do a part 2. Okay. But I want to kind of touch on some things because you've had a long-standing run of success. What did the quote-unquote smooth jazz market coming about? Because it seems like the smooth, even though it's been there, your Kenny G's, your Grover. I don't know about Grover and George Howard. I was a huge George Howard fan. Grover and all their deals, but it seemed like the jazz people that work their deals right, Quincy, Miles Davis, and stuff, were very affluent worldwide. And it's like Harry Belafonte, selling 1 million albums because his music wasn't a genre. How has that played to you? What have you found more success because people say, you know what, I just want to listen to some Will? It's not even it's like Will. You know what I'm saying?
I kind of cross different genres of music. So some people consider me to be a straight up R&B vocalist in the traditional sense.
Right.
I don't know what R&B is now. I mean, I hear some of the music now that they call R&B, and I kind of scratch my head a little bit. And it's not saying that these people are not talented. These artists are not talented. But what R&B is kind of morphed into, this new thing, it's not R&B to me. So just like I'm looking at what used to be a particular style of music has morphed into something else. Like for me, when you mention George Howard, or you mention Grover, or you mention early, or I mentioned early Jeff Lorber, Kenny, Najee. Like to me, that was the beginning of the hybrid of traditional and contemporary jazz. It's kind of like this, this new world. And now it's become something else. But I've always had kind of jazz sensibilities in everything that I've done. And I think that they've embraced me because of that, because of the early records. I used to work with George Duke. I used to work with, George Howard, Rochelle, Bobby Lyle, Gerald Albright, Jonathan Butler, Norman Brown. So we go back like years. So the people kind of came along with us, and now they kind of embrace me in this genre of music as well. But the R&B community now looks at me. I'm like, I'm Uncle. I'm old school. You Uncle Will. Like, yo, man, you're like a legend. I'm going like, I ain't that old. I'm not that old. Like, yeah, you are.
The album.
yeah, right. I just released something. Like, yes, that's nice, Unc. It's kind of like the pat on the head. That's nice, Unc. That's nice. Like, this is what we doing now. Like, yeah, but so in the R&B world, I'm old as hell. But
it's weird because I think because and I'll say a couple more things on this and then we'll I know you got a boogie. I know you got a hot schedule. But rhythm and blues was the birth of R&B. So you have gospel, you have jazz, you have blues and
Right.
rhythm and blues, and men who didn't mind telling a woman, "Baby, I'm for real. I try, I'm gonna plead with you. I ain't too proud to beg." It was still that.
absolutely.
And somewhere along the lines, that didn't become cool anymore. And people wonder so many problems at home. When last time you told your girl I love her? She know how I feel about it. Let me get on this video game, son.
Right.
Dude, we were putting a tape for everything. Oh, I'm cooking. Put in the slow jam tape. Oh, we gonna come. You coming over? We watch TV. Put in the slow jam tape. He's like, I can't hear the TV with me.
Hey,
Everything was about her.
Well, you know what? To their credit, and I'm gonna give them some credit, but what used to be our mixtape is now a playlist for them. So, but we would take time and craft it. We'd be like, yo, I'm gonna put some Luther on, I'm gonna put some Marvin on, I'm gonna might hit it with like the R&B gospel thing. I'm gonna put on some Donny Hathaway, then I'm gonna jump to some
arrange the tape like you arrange an album. We
yeah.
like this hits mix right here, the beats per minute. We didn't know what beats per minute were. The BPM is just going.
Yep. Now it's just for them, it's about playlists. They go to something like a Spotify or whatever, and they just play whatever. And of course, Spotify kind of puts it together for them, saying, okay, this sounds like, what you like. This sounds like the record that just went off. And it just sort of works like that. So they may not put as much thought and care into what they're doing like we did, but it's the same thing. It's just morphed into this thing. That's it. I got some bad news for you. I got some real bad news for you. You ready? You're sitting down, right? You sitting back? You good? You need to okay. So you're old, like me.
I ain't old. So
that's what.
Anytime you fighting yourself when somebody tell you something.
That's what everyone who's old says. They all say this. We all say the same. I ain't old. I like, yo.
Yeah, and because that's how the old folks used to talk about hip hop. We like, what do you mean? Come on.
I tried to get my dad to listen to Luther once again. I was with him in the early days of when Luther was coming up. And I said, Dad, you got to hear this guy. And I'm in the car with my father. And I turn the radio up, which you never touch the radio in somebody else's car. I touched the radio in my dad's car. I hit that button. I said, Dad, you got to hear this guy. He was like, first and foremost, don't ever touch my radio.
He done missed the whole first verse.
Oh, yeah. I'm like, oh, shoot, man, Luther already on the next line, second verse. Next thing, it was like, this dude, he's all right. He ain't no David Ruffin. He ain't no Lou Rawls. He ain't David Ruffin. I was like, oh, okay. So now, when my daughter or one of my daughters comes with me and they're like, yo, you got to hear so-and-so sing. Yeah. He ain't no Luther Vandross. All right. They're like, who? So she can really sing. She ain't no Anita Baker. She ain't no Phyllis Hyman. Looking at me like, I don't really know.
And happy belated birthday to Phyllis.
That's right.
We just passed.
And
another. All right, I want before we go, I definitely want you to talk about where you are now and Romantique 2.
Romantique.
Now, did that come from the classique and the romantique? Did you just kind of flow with your own piece?
I know it's the French than me. Will Downer speak French. He can speak French.
He overseas still?
He overseas. Yeah, that boy, he's good. So listen, what I've been doing for the last few years is I've been releasing EPs because the new generation, as we were just talking about, they listen to music, and now people listen to music differently.
Right.
And you used to do an album, and you do like 10 cuts, and you would craft it the way you'd like it. It would start off up tempo, then it'd slow down to a mid, then it'd be a ballad, then you go back up. People don't listen to records in its entirety anymore. They just don't. People go online and they kind of pick and choose. They go listen for a minute, 30 seconds. I like that joint, I like that one there, I like that one, I like that one. So I kind of like realized, especially when I heard this from a person, I ran into them and they say, "Hey, what are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I just released a record a few months ago." And I said, "Yeah, make sure you check it out." He's like, "Oh yeah, I got that one. What else you got?" I'm like,
oh yeah.
Yeah, I was like, this record was supposed to last like
a year and a half.
Year and a half.
You just released last week. Yeah, I listened to the whole thing. So what's next?
Basically, was it. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna start making EPs. And for those who are watching, you don't know what the EP is. I think it's less than six songs. So that's an EP, right? So I started doing that so that people can actually hear the music. So hence Romantique Part 1 and Part 2. What I've done is I've done a tribute records to baritone vocalists, which you don't really hear much of anymore. So people like Barry White, Lou Rawls, John Lucien, Isaac Hayes, artists like that. I've kind of reinterpreted these classic songs and kind of Will Downing-ized them. And for Romantique Part 2, I threw a couple of originals in there as well. So I'm just going to keep on this train of releasing new music every, 4, 5, 6 months so that you stay current. So right now we are up to Romantique Part 2. And I don't know what French name I'm going to use for the next one, but during this COVID season, I'm working on that joint right now. I'm about 4 songs in and it's blazing. So
how you mentioned something since we talked about, because this is I usually don't try to date them, but we're in a time in history where you see I keep trying to let Will go.
That's all right.
We're in a time in history where this will be remembered throughout all of history. Quarantine, right. COVID, uprising.
Right.
How important is love music right now?
Well, you know what? When you are locked down and you're locked down with someone, what can be more important? Or even if you're by yourself, you need something to comfort you, to make you feel better in some sort of way, in the words that someone might say. So, there's a message in the music for those who hear it, and good music, especially for adults, you hear that message that kind of uplift. You need that because when you're locked down, that depression can jump down on you. Or if you're locked in with someone, like you need to set the mood, who better? Right. What better? Some really good music. So, you need it. And music is the landscape for your life.
That's it. Will Downing, brother, I'm not gonna keep you much longer as I keep trying to. We gotta do a part 2. We gotta do a part 2.
Yes, sir.
I got a bunch of questions, and I wanna definitely talk about how and who you had working with you musician wise on, because that's when we would read who was playing on the album. And the crew and team you had working with you, Dream Fulfilled, was amazing, because you talk about the EPs, and Romantique, you got to get it 1 and 2.
Yes.
12 songs altogether. So you got to get 1 and 2. But we talk about that, and I'm like, okay, is it just because of the quality, or is it really because I've heard some people listening to some, we'll sit down and, I've seen young people and me listen to some Anderson .Paak, and we'll listen to it, and we can put on Will Downing on YouTube and listen to 8, 10, 9 of your songs, and young people are listening. So is it the attention span, or is it the quality of music that people are putting out because they're doing too much?
No,
they're not using enough real instruments. Our ears still love real instruments.
Our ears certainly love real instruments, but everything has been dumbed down. So even if you listen to an MP3, our ears have become accustomed to listening to MP3s. But if you put that MP3 up against some vinyl, you really hear the difference.
Yeah.
You really hear the difference. There's a roundness.
When they transitioned to CDs, you didn't hear the same quality.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Exactly. So that's kind of what's happened. I think that because of the lack of companies these days and places where artists can go to call a record company home, people are certainly making records in a way that I didn't think would ever happen. Like hell, I'm working on this record now, and I'm 4 songs in, and I've literally only seen one other person. Literally, one person. Dude, my boy lives like about 4 blocks away from me. He's an upright bass player, and he promised me that he ain't been nowhere but in his house, and I was like, I need to cut upright bass. And he came by, and that brother.
Come in, y'all both like, all right, man.
Yeah, man, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. Like, yo, doors open. Doors open. Come down. Right there. Yeah, come go left. Make sure you go left, and then you set up. There's a microphone, a pair of headphones right over there. And and then I'm gonna talk to you, So yeah, that's the way we recorded. I mean, he was on one side of the room, I was on the other, and it was like, that's real good. At measure 16, So we're making records in a way I never thought we would be making records. I mean, it's just it's bizarre, to be honest with you. So, like as I was saying, people don't have the budgets anymore, so certainly things have been dumbed down from that standpoint. Everyone has a home studio where it used to be you went to a studio and you went through millions of dollars worth of gear, whether it be the board or whether it be outboard as far as reverbs and delays and this and that and better microphones. Now folks are recording their records on a freaking laptop. We used to have engineers. Now you're the engineer. So it's kind of like there's a pretty big divide in how records were made and how they're made now. And it's a quality difference. So it's just different. And people's ears have become accustomed to hearing these records the way we're listening to them now. And it doesn't necessarily make it wrong. It's just different.
It's just like and
people's attention span is very short. Now it's everything is kind of like, we're going to listen to this record to the last note. And folks are like, yeah, well, I got to check my email. I got to check, I got to go on Facebook. I got to go on, so people, their attention span is like real short. Because they have so many options.
Let people know how to get in touch with Will, how they can grab your new joints, Romantique, all the EP. The great thing is you did a No Limit, and that's how old I am. You done did a No Limit. Now they can collect all of Will's albums.
Right. Everything behind me. Let's see. Yep, there we go. All of them. And then there's some on the other side hooked as well.
Now, how many albums do you know offhand? How many albums do you think you've sold worldwide so far?
Sold? I don't know. That I don't know. If I knew, my feelings would probably be hurt. I'd probably be at my old record company's door like, you owe me reparations. Give me mine. Eyes free. Give me my cake.
You got to sign. And you're singing it. You're like, we're going to record that. Well, you ain't recording nothing.
So I don't know what I've sold, but I've made 23 albums. This is my 20. Yeah. Yes, I'm working on 24 right now.
And how does all right? We're gonna do a part 2 because I'm about to ask you another question. We're gonna go into
come black and do part 2.
We got come black and do part 2.
Yes,
Will Downing, how can people get in touch with you, brother?
You can find me. I'm Will Downing Singer on Facebook. I'm Will Downing on Instagram and Twitter, and just punch up Will Downing. If you see a not so good looking bald headed chocolate man, it's probably me. Just press follow.
And all the ladies that now I know y'all going to YouTube and some of your kids and stuff like that. It's called love music. It's called you would think you were from Broadway. I think Rick Younger, friend of mine, comedian, he's the only person I know that probably know. I was like, how does Will know all these songs? I mean, because you can pull from everywhere. So Will Downing, thank you, brother.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you.
All right, we'll talk soon.
You got it. All right. You good?
Great job.